Hey guys, how's it going? Recently, I've had a bunch of my buddies that have been putting together rifles. I've been helping them out with it. All of them kind of are saying the same thing, like, hey, here's my budget. I like the guns that you have. I've shot them. They're great. And I want something that's reliable like that I can use for XYZ reason, right? So it's a really common question I get, and I'm sure a lot of other gun guys get and guys that shoot. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it gave me an idea for this video. I want to talk about what AR-15 you should purchase based on your budget, and more importantly, your use case on that rifle, which I think gets lost a whole lot. People try to buy the best gun they can inside their budget, which on surface level is not a bad idea. But in the same way you would purchase a car, you don't want to just buy the best car for your budget. You want to buy a car that's designed and tailored to accomplish the goals that you need that car to accomplish. Example of this is if you work with your hands and you have tools, you're probably going to want a pickup truck. A pickup truck is designed to accomplish the goal that you need it for day to day, and you certainly wouldn't be trying to buy a sedan if you needed what a pickup truck provided for you. And the same goes in the inverse. If you need a commuter car, right, a pickup truck is probably not the best option. And again, just kind of a little easy analogy to maybe get you guys in the same headspace that I'm in when I talk about these types of things when I pick up my own rifles. So let's talk about a couple of categories of rifles or use cases that we should be thinking of. The most common two that I see. One, my general purpose. I wanted to be able to fight with this. I want to be able to plink at the range with it. I want it to be reliable. I want to go to training classes with it, and kind of just the ability to flex into all sorts of roles that multiple different AR-15s can accomplish. But I don't want it to be amazing at one or two things. I want it to be the jack of all trades, kind of master of none. That's your general purpose rifle. I did a video on my general purpose rifle, and we talked about optics and all those types of things that go along with it. But in this case, you've got your general purpose type of use rifle. The second category that I see a lot is home defense / night vision use. Those are pretty common, at least becoming more common, especially on the night vision side for guys getting into guns. And usually you want a shorter rifle and some other things that are specialized there that would not be great to have on your GPR rifle. And you shouldn't expect an SBR night fighting rifle to be good at a whole lot of different things. It's going to be way better at certain things than a GPR is, and GPR is going to be way more usable at other things that an SBR or a night fighting rifle is not going to be good at. So those are our two major categories. And then within these categories, we'll talk about price point, and I'm going to make some recommendations on brands and then building versus buying kind of thing. So let's start with the GPRs. If we're talking about a general purpose rifle, guys, I understand times are tough in 2024, thanks to Bidenomics, inflation, and the printing of money at the federal level. I know that we are tight on money, but if you have under $1,000 to spend on a rifle, I would recommend to save a little bit longer. But if you can't and you're never going to have more money than that, there's only one brand under $1,000 that I really feel like should be on anyone's list to investigate, and that's the IWI Zion. One could make an argument that the M&P Sport II, or excuse me, Sport III is a good gun. It is, but I think the IWI is a little bit better, and it's about the same price. So if you're under $1,000, my recommendation is save up about $1,200, because you get into another category of guns that far surpass the sub $1,000 category. There's a huge gap between cheap guns and mid-tier guns. There's not a huge gap between mid-tier guns and fancy pants Gucci guns. They perform close enough that you have a point of diminishing returns when you start spending really above $2,000. It's hard to say my $4,000 gun is better than your $2,000 gun. There we're talking about absolute minutia at those price points. So general purpose gun under $1,000, please don't do it. But if you have to, IWI is the only good choice. Maybe an M&P Sport II. Now the $1,000 to $2,000 category, there's a whole lot more options there. You can look at BCM, which I think is the absolute king of the general purpose type build in that price point. BCM offers really quality barrels, really quality control, and it offers really quality handguards that are lightweight. The handguards are something in the barrels that I want to emphasize on, because BCM you know, if you're getting a night fighting gun, I probably wouldn't recommend BCM. There are plenty of other better brands that are designed more to do that. But on the GPR side, if you're not throwing a laser on those handguards get pretty hot, you know, and they do hold 0, but they're not nearly as robust as other handguards out there. So the BCM, you know, that's the one rifle that I recommend the most to people because it's a very obtainable price point and it's very well rounded on what you can do. If you're going to suppress a BCM, there are better options. I have a suppressed BCM. It's a great gun, but it's not the best running gun suppressed. So really good. Their 14.5s and their 16 inches are, I mean, just awesome. I love those in particular. Their short-barreled rifles are good too, but their do-it-all like carbines are just killer. And you can get those on sale, the free bolt carrier group. That gun is going to outlive you. Even if you shoot it all the time, you're going to spend way more money on ammunition than the rifle, which is great. That's the idea. Slap a nicer optic on it because you can get them for a good value and just go ham and absolutely take as many classes as you can. BCMs are great for that. Daniel Defense, if you can catch their uppers on sale from Midway USA, you can get a really cool Block 2 upper. They have the overbuilt Riz 2 handguards on them. They're really great for lasers and things, but if you're doing a general purpose rifle, they're, you know, you don't need all that weight. There's no reason to. If you're gonna be out there taking classes, shooting unsuppressed, and, you know, trying to get as much trigger time as possible, become proficient from 100 to 500 yards. Like, you do not need to spend the money on a Daniel Defense. You're going to have way too much weight. The Daniel Defense also, MSRP is way too high for what you get. If you're buying their rifles off the rack and you're not just assembling an upper and a lower, they're going to pay way too much. You're going to get a crappy trigger. You're going to get really crappy furniture. And you're just going to get a no-frills rifle at the price of, you know, basically almost a Geissele, which has a ton of extra benefits that the DD does not offer. So DD is a decent option if you're assembling the gun. You can catch a good deal on the upper. And DD is awesome if you really want to get a GWAT, like mid-2000s type of gun. The Mark 18s are awesome. And the Block 2 rifles are great. Their new Riz 3 handguards are to be determined. I have no experience with them, but I'm sure they're fine. They're known for that. And their barrels are overbuilt, cold hammer forged. Before we move on to the next category with night vision and those types of things, I do want to talk about barrels for a minute. You do not need a cold hammer forged barrel for your do-it-all rifle, or really any rifle at all, if you're not planning on putting 20, 30, 40,000 rounds through that gun. You're going to be fine without spending the extra money on the cold hammer forge. There's nothing wrong with the cold hammer forge barrel. I own one of them. I love it. It's on my Geissele, and I know I'm never going to shoot it out, but I also put like 2,000 or 3,000 rounds a year on that Geissele on average, I would say. Maybe 2,000, not quite 3. And even at that cadence of trigger time on that one gun, I'm never going to shoot out that barrel. And I spent a lot of money on that Geissele. Now, I got what I wanted, but, you know, it's unnecessary. I have shot more rounds through my BCM that's not cold hammer forged, and it still groups at 1.25, and I took it out to like 650 meters the other day, ringing C-zone steel like it was its job. So you don't need the cold hammer forged barrel, but there's nothing wrong with them. They're really cool. Just don't, you can spend the extra coin in other places. Pardon me. So the next category is like SBRs and guns that are going to have lasers on them, i.e. night fighting guns, right? I'm wearing nods. I'm going to use this at nighttime. I'm going to kick indoors, or I'm going to, you know, shoot pigs, all sorts of different things. If you're going to use that gun for that, it is very, very, in my experience, my humble experience, it is very, very rare that that gun is really awesome to use in any other type of situation, right? If you're not wearing nods, nobody wants a 12-pound SBR with a giant suppressor that's gassy to go out and plank and do anything more than like room clearing and shooting at night. It's just not as pleasant to shoot. It's really heavy. It's got an unnecessary amount of weight toward the front of the gun, even stripped. A lot of these handguards that are designed to hold 0 on the lasers, even better, are thick with 2 Cs. They are built to do that purpose. If that is not in your future, or you don't really need that for this gun, don't get those types of handguards and those heavy guns. You don't need a huge heavy profile barrel. You don't need a most ridiculous lockup on that handguard. You don't need to spend the money on those things. You can spend them on other things, like a quality barrel from a precision point of view and a nicer trigger, whatever you're into. So in the night fighting gun, There's nothing, in my opinion, that exists under the $1,000 price range. If you're getting into night vision, or if you're already in night vision, you already know this. That is not a cheap hobby. It is a lot of money. And so when you're getting into the SBR world, I think cheap SBRs are silly because they get a lot more wear and tear. They're a lot harder on themselves. They're more gassy. And if you're running an SBR, it's silly to not have a suppressor, because if you're not running an SBR, and this is, again, not every case, I'm sure someone in here could say, well, I use my unsuppressed SBR for XYZ. Great, you're the 1% of guys that should be doing that. If you have an SBR, it probably needs to be suppressed. If you don't want to get a suppressor, don't buy an SBR. Just get a 14.5 or a 16-inch, and you're going to be golden for a fighting carbine. If you're going to buy a night fighting gun, the Mark 18s I mentioned before, Daniel Defense, those are awesome. They're old school. You can get those uppers on sale for pretty cheap. Drop in a good bolt carrier group or a Daniel Defense if you want to do that. Throw it on whatever lower floats your boat. That's excellent. My favorite is Geissele, because Geissele goes on sale all the time. And you can get those for really, really cheap. Those are the two brands that I like the most for SBRs. There are lots of other ones out there. When you're talking about expensive guns, then it's just kind of back to that point of diminishing returns point of view that I gave earlier. You start spending too much money, you don't really get a lot more out of it. But the under 2,000 to 2,500 kind of area, there's a ton of really good guns. The two I recommend, again, are Geissele and Daniel Defense. Get a suppressor on it. You know, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be designed to be shot at nighttime. The only other time I'd get a short-barreled rifle is for like a home defense use, and I'm probably going to recommend a short 300 Blackout, because they are just so quiet under suppressor, even the full-powered cartridges, and they're extremely effective, and they're very handy. I've done a video on my 300 Blackout here. That's kind of an exception category. There are very few people that run suppressed 300 Blackouts as their home defense gun, compared to people that just buy one carbine to kind of do it all. So yes, that is a thing. And if you're that far down the rabbit hole of building guns, then you don't need my advice at all. You know what you're talking about. So this video is more for people that are either kind of getting into it or have shot in the past, but maybe they want to upgrade their rifle. So those are the two major categories, the night vision and the general purpose. I hope this was helpful. Just to kind of list everything out at the end. If you're under $1,000, do IWI. If you're between 1,000 to 2,000, you've got BCM, Geissele, and Daniel Defense for your general purpose rifles. Get the longer barrels there. 14.5 to 16 inch for do-it-all barrels. And if you're in the night vision category, you need to focus on having a really quality rail, something with a tight lockup, something that's gassed well, something that's going to run a suppressor right, and it's going to have the ability to handle a lot of heat. And you're going to need to spend a ton of money on optics if you really want a reliable night fighting gun. So those options are Daniel Defense and Geissele are my two favorite. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful. I don't want to waste any of y'all's time. So please, if you have feedback for me, let me know. I don't own any type of software to edit videos. I literally just put my phone in front of me and I talk and answer questions that I get in my DMs and from my friends. So if this is valuable to you, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and give me some feedback.